The next group I'd like to start with is a 414th, and I'm going to ask Joe Jenkins to come up here and be number one.
I guess I started like everybody else did, in trying to be a pilot. The draft caught me. Pardon me. The first thing, so I spent about 11 months in that, and Pearl Harbor came along, and I got a chance to pass the cadet exam. I went through, like everybody else, through primary, basic, advanced. I graduated out of Williams and went through B-25 OTU, and they sent me off to be a night fighter pilot. Nobody knew what one was, but from there I was down at Kissimmee. We graduated out of there, and that day the base closed at that time, and they moved it back to Fresno, California. We moved back there. From there I went to New York, and they put us on an airplane and said, "You're going to Europe." The sun came up a day later and we were in Africa. They put us out there in a replacement depot, and finally they decided we'd go to the different squadrons. There was 12 crews that was went over, 8 crews that was went over at the same time, all replacements. They divided us up. We went up to Sardinia, joined the 414, which was Colonel Bollinger was the CO at that time. He just made CO of the squadron. About 2 weeks they let us fly around in a bullfighter for a while, get used to it. After that, they put us on patrols. We patrolled over the Mediterranean quite a bit on anti-shipping, and later on they sent us on into the Po Valley, which it seemed like everybody was in and out of the Po Valley for half the war. We did quite a bit of missions in there. We dropped what they called nickels over the lines at night to kind of entice the Germans or whatever to defect to our side. I don't know how much of it ever was effective. They had what they called artificial moonlight, where you could see what was going on most like day. See, we stayed at Po Valley. We flew cover over the invasion of southern France. After that, they did quite a bit of intruder missions up north of Marseille, up into Dijon and Lyon. We also had quite a bit back in the Po Valley, around Milan, Lake Garda. Bergamo was one of the main targets for the area because the airport was more active than anything else. After they were talking the Battle of the Bulge here, there was 2 flights from the 414, went up into Belgium to support them till they got their aircraft back in shape. We flew there I was up there for about 3 months. We flew missions out of there into Germany, quite a bit of intruder missions, train busting. Truck traffic was pretty active up there, as it had been pretty in the latter part of the Po Valley. They started moving equipment pretty heavy. We stayed there I was up there about 3 months. In the meantime, we moved from Belgium to Bonn, Germany, stayed there and flew out of there for a while. I guess we were there a little over a month. I was moved back to, I was moved back to Italy. We went back to flying missions in the Po Valley. From there, we did quite a bit of intruder over into around the Milan area. As the war wound down in Italy, actually a little before it did up in France and Germany, we flew several daylight missions at the end of the war there, which was highly unusual for night fighters. The squadron was replaced. We had the bullfighters for quite a while. Then, as we got started into the Po Valley and later in the winter, they re-equipped us with P-61s, which is what we took to Belgium and on into Germany. The 414th was one of the first activated in the Mediterranean area. They had quite a number. I don't recall the number of airplanes that were damaged or destroyed by the people. I have seen the record, but I don't remember what it was. But by and large, the squadron was pretty active the whole time in it. The loss rate was rather high for a squadron. I don't try to keep track of those type of numbers. But that pretty well tells my story of where I went with the squadron, and that pretty well gives an idea of where the squadron was located, what they did, and pretty well tells how that they were operated the whole times. Actually, intruder missions and train strafing and this type of stuff was one of the primary acts of the squadron. The Bergamo airfield was kind of a place that everybody was supposed to try to take care of because the Germans used quite a bit to get their transport aircraft out to get people out of there into Spain. But my talk may not last 10 minutes, but that pretty well covers about what I did and where I was. Thank you.